Thanks for staying with us. This is World Health News Today. I'm Don Balarjan, and I'm joined by a distinguished group here, Dr. Sheila Foreman. Always good to see you, Sheila.
Thanks, Don.
And Dr. Elizabeth Lageson. Of course, you're the director of the UCLA Peers Group.
That's right.
And we're talking about autism all this week, and I know that you just presented in London a talk there. Tell us about that.
Yes, I was presenting at the International Meeting for Autism Research in London, which was one of the largest autism conferences of its kind. And I presented on our UCLA Peers program, which is a social skills program for teenagers with high-functioning autism.
Now, we hear a lot about autism when it's related to younger children. And every time you almost see something on television or you read about it in a newspaper, they're always talking about younger children.
Right.
It almost seems like the teenagers and older children seem to be forgotten. Is that a common experience?
I think that's absolutely accurate, unfortunately. Really, the emphasis in treatment has been on early intervention, which is, of course, very important. And even in middle childhood, we've done a lot of research in that area. But unfortunately for adolescents with autism and even adults, there's been very little treatment research in that area.
What kind of difficulties are young adults and older children experiencing as a result of autism?
Well, you know, social skills changes so much over the lifespan. You know, when children are younger, it's really focused on things like how to play appropriately with friends, how to share and take turns in games. But once you hit adolescence, social skills really changes pretty dramatically. And everything really focuses much more on conversational skills. And we know with autism that communication deficits are very significant. And so not surprisingly, these conversational skills are quite impaired for adolescents with autism. And that really seems to be the primary deficit in social skills for teenagers.
You know, Sheila, unfortunately, a lot of people, when they think of autism in young adults or adults, they really the only reference they have is Dustin Hoffman and Rain Man. And they think everybody can be a card counter. But I mean, it's you know, let's talk about reality, because that's Hollywood. What is the reality?
The reality is that these children, especially the adolescents, present very normal. They usually have average or high intelligence, but what they're missing are the peer and social interactions. And what is so exciting about your program is it specifically addresses that. It's a behavioral program. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Can you tell us a little bit about the formula that you use and the success that you have?
Sure. What makes the UCLA Peers program somewhat unique from other social skills programs for adolescents is that it's parent assisted. And what that means is that we actually include the parents in the intervention, and we teach them to be social coaches to their kids, much in the way that we as therapists would be if we were there on a daily basis. So that makes it sort of unique. But we try to teach all of these social skills in very concrete and specific ways. We have a curriculum, much like you would have in a classroom, where we teach rules of social etiquette with very concrete rules and steps, which makes it easy for the kids to follow.
And the kids are teenagers, 13 to 17. About how many children do you have in the program at one time? How long does the program last?
Well, it's a 14-week program, and we typically have about 8 to 10 kids in the program at any given time. And essentially, we start with conversational skills, and from there we get into what we call peer entry skills, how to join conversations with friends. And we end up focusing towards the latter part of the intervention on peer rejection. So how do you handle teasing? How do you handle bullying? How do you resolve a conflict with a friend?
Now, it must be interesting, too, from the parents' perspective, just on what you said, because when those things happen to kids, the first thing they do is they bring this home to mom and dad, and I've been teased, I've been bullied.
Right.
How do you help the parents cope with that and get their child through it?
Well, it's interesting because one of the first things that parents will often tell kids when they're being teased or bullied is they'll tell them to ignore the person or walk away. And if you ask a teenager if that actually works, I would say 99% of the time they will say no, it does not work. And they're right, it doesn't work, because the person just follows you. They know that they've basically pushed your button. And so what we teach kids to do instead is to act like what the person said didn't bother you. But that's by giving them some kind of a short comeback, something like saying, whatever, so what, big deal, who cares, something like that. So you're giving the impression that what the person said didn't bother you, and you're making it less likely that they're going to want to tease you in the future, because it's not fun for them.
Well, exactly, because I mean, the whole point, I guess, from the perspective of the bully or the person doing the teasing, if they don't get the feedback they're looking for, they kind of give up.
Exactly, and that's the idea. They might try a little bit harder for a while, but eventually they're going to give up.
Now, Sheila, again, going back from the to the parent's perspective. Obviously, when something like this is afflicting your child, it's very difficult to go through.
Absolutely.
A program like this must be so refreshing to a parent.
It's empowering for the parents, and that's why I appreciate that this program exists, because the parents feel helpless. And they don't know what to do, and they want to help their child, and their child is special needs. So what they might do with another sibling doesn't work with the autistic child. So this program demonstrates exactly what the parents can do, gives them skills and tools, gives them a vehicle to build those skills and tools. And it seems like for the whole family, it's very successful.
Now, quickly, Elizabeth, obviously, when a child's 13 to 17, the parents are pretty much still involved, but another 10, 15 years down the road, that's not going to be the case. How do you prepare your, I'll call them students, for life after mom and dad?
Well, you know, this is a really critical point, because actually if you look at what ends up happening with adolescents with autism spectrum disorders is they do tend to be rather dependent upon their families, even when they transition into adulthood. But the wonderful thing about improving social skills is that it actually increases independence, and that's really important for our individuals with autism. And so that's the really, I think, one of the nice benefits of teaching social skills is that it does lead to a more independent lifestyle.
Dr. Elizabeth Augustin, Dr. Sheila Foreman, very informative. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.